Good afternoon. A man is dead after he was struck by a vehicle in Mississauga early this morning.
Police say the man was found on the roadway near Derry Rd and Hurontario St. CTV's John Musselman has been following the investigation and joins us live now with more. John.
Well, Raheem, it happened in the intersection right behind me, as you mentioned, Derry Rd and Hurontario. We can show you some video. Peel Regional Police were called to this area around 4 o'clock this morning. There was some pretty rough weather at that time, thunderstorms rolling through. When they arrived here, they met a driver, a motorist, who said that they ran someone over, but it was later determined that the person who had been run over had been hit previously and likely left on the roadway. That driver did stop and was cooperating with police, but now they're trying to determine when this person may have been hit on the road, where they were crossing. We do know that the body was found in the middle of the intersection. We had a chance to speak to Peel Regional Police today. They are appealing to the public for help on this.
If there's anyone that was in the area, it was dark and rainy. Obviously, weather may play a factor here. If you believe you may have struck somebody or that you struck something, to please contact police at 905-453-3311. We'd like to speak to you because we do believe that something did occur prior to him being run over and dragged a short distance from this vehicle.
At this point, police have not who was struck and killed. We know it was a man in his 40s. The scene here is still sealed off, so if you're driving in this area, Hurontario and Derry, it is still closed off. You'll have to find another route. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. One person is dead and another is fighting for their life in hospital following a collision in Brampton. An SUV slammed into the back of a transport truck on Airport Road near Williams Parkway around 3:15 p.m. yesterday. Police say the man driving the SUV was pronounced dead at the scene. A woman was airlifted to hospital where she remains in life-threatening condition. Peel police are asking anyone who may have dashcam video to come forward.
Police are investigating after shots were fired in a residential area near Bloor and Islington early this morning. Officers called around 4:45 for reports of gunfire at a home. No injuries were reported. Police have not provided any information at this stage on possible suspects. And a separate investigation is underway after shots were fired at a movie theater in Scarborough last night. Police called to Woodside Square Cinemas near Finch and McCowan just before 10:30. No injuries were reported, but this is not the first time the theater has been targeted. It was struck by gunfire in 2 incidents in November of 2024. Earlier that month, the theater was evacuated because of a fire which was believed to have been deliberately set. Police say it's unclear if these incidents are connected.
Halton Regional Police are warning parents about the so-called Assassin's Game. They say the game, which is played in the spring, typically involves elementary and high school students pretending to hunt each other with water guns or Nerf-style toys. However, officers say some of the toy guns can closely resemble real firearms, which has prompted calls to police from concerned parents. Police are discouraging the game and are asking parents and guardians to talk to their kids about the risks.
Still to come on CTV News at noon, U.S. President Donald Trump claims the war in Iran is, quote, close to over. We'll have more on his recent comments a little later in the newscast. But first, the Mayor's Executive Committee is meeting today, and the FIFA World Cup is a hot topic.
There are discussions around the city's mobility plan during the tournament, as well as the FIFA Fan Festival. CTV's Janice Golding joins us live now from City Hall with more. Janice.
Hi, Raheem. Yes, well, excitement builds as FIFA World Cup draws closer and closer. Fears are mounting about the costs associated with hosting the event. So much so, in fact, that a centerpiece event that had been heralded as a free and inclusive event could now come at a price. Toronto's FIFA Fan Festival, which will be held at Fort York in the Bentway during the World Cup, was being touted as an accessible space where all residents could celebrate. But today, Executive Committee is debating whether to recommend a general admission charge of $10, with VIP tickets selling for between $100 and $300. A staff report sought authority to improve fan experience and bolster safety at the event, and that would mean providing the vendor, which is already receiving $16 million to host the festival, with an additional $9 million. Two-thirds would be covered by ticket sales, with $2 million to come from elsewhere in the city's $380 million World Cup hosting budget, and just under $1 million would be provided by FIFA.
FanFest is not the only game in town, so to speak. The City of Toronto gave out a lot of grants, whether it's for the local residents association. Pardon me. The City of Toronto gave out grants for the local residents association or the business improvement area to animate Scarborough, North York, Etobicoke. So you're going to be able to watch the game all over the city, not just in pubs, not just in places where you actually have to pay. There will be a lot of free activities all over the city.
This is really disappointing. You know, this is another flip-flop from Mayor Chow. This was, of course, anticipated to be free for families. That's what she told everybody. And now we have a last-minute change, $10 admission. And $10 might not seem much for Mayor Chow, but for a lot of families in Toronto, you know, a family of 5, that's $50 to go to the FIFA World Cup. And most people aren't going to be in a box with Mayor Chow at the games. Most families are not going to get access to the stadium to actually be able to see the soccer in person. So the Fan Fest was really the opportunity to make it more accessible for Torontonians.
Now, the ticketing proposal was actually voted on already this morning, but it was reopened by Councillor Josh Matlow, so it will be debated further this afternoon. If it passes here, it will go before Council next week. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle and Raheem.
Thank you, Janice. The mayor, meanwhile, says the city is investing an extra $10 million to speed up the design and planning of the new Scarborough LRT.
I'm also seeking the province support to speed up planning and design, drawing on their learnings from provincially led transit expansion projects via Metrolinx. I'm doing this now because we have momentum. Last month, I secured $2 billion from the provincial and the federal governments to build the Waterfront East LRT, matching the city's 1/3 share.
The new Scarborough East LRT will feature 27 stops and connect the University of Toronto's Scarborough campus with Kennedy Station. The former Scarborough RT was decommissioned months earlier than planned after a derailment in 2023.
Toronto and other municipalities have eased their rules around alcohol in parks in recent years, and now the province is following suit. Adults aged 19 and up will now be allowed to consume alcohol in most areas of provincial parks. Drinking will no longer be limited to individual campsites, but existing rules will still stay in place around things like public intoxication, underage possession or consumption, and open alcohol in vehicles and boats. Parks will also use signage to clearly identify some areas where alcohol will stay prohibited. For example, at sites of cultural or historical significance or where it's unsafe.
We are confident that with these changes, park visitors will be responsible when consuming their alcoholic beverages. Staff will continue to monitor and ensure compliance with rules and regulations to keep our parks as safe, family-friendly, and enjoyable for everyone, as they have always been. They will ensure that alcohol is consumed only where it is allowed, all empty containers are disposed of properly, and the rules around noise and respect for others are met.
Environment Minister Todd McCarthy said the changes will help enhance the park experience, and they'll boost local tourism by making Ontario parks a more attractive destination for picnics, beach days, and other visits. A shocking revelation from Ontario's Education Ministry. They say just 40% of high school students in the province went to school at least 90% of the time during the last school year. That represents a drop of nearly 20% from the 2017-2018 school year. The data also shows that only 33% of grade 12 students are actually showing up for class at least 90% of the time. On Monday, the province announced measures to try and boost high school attendance, saying it will account for 10 to 15% of final marks, depending on the grade level. The 2026 Scarborough Walk of Fame induction ceremony is being held this afternoon.
The event, hosted by the Scarborough Community Renewal Organization, honors the inductees for their outstanding achievements. And CTV's Andrea Case joins us live now from Scarborough Town Centre with more. Andrea.
Yes, good afternoon, Raheem and Michelle. I'm here at Scarborough Town Centre where the Walk of Fame ceremony is going on. Now, this happens every couple of years. And, you know, we've just heard a lot about Toronto throughout the newscast so far. Scarborough is a proud part of the City of Toronto. Mayor Chow was just on stage talking about Scarborough. And what they do is they recognize people in the community, whether they are famous infamous or not famous whatsoever. And so today we've got a couple of really big names that I think everybody would know. We've got Andre de Grasse, the Olympic medalist. We have Fifi Dobson, Juno Award winner. Right now on stage, we've got a couple. We have John and Kathy Phillips. They are community members, and they are being honored. And so if you've ever been to Scarborough Town Centre, and I'm sure that two of you have, on the lower level, just behind me here, they actually have stars in the sidewalk. So right now, what they're doing is they're introducing all the people who are getting their stars today, and then after that, we go downstairs and they will actually unveil the stars. So later on today, tonight at 6 o'clock, we will have that for you, and probably again at 5 o'clock. And just one little final tidbit, a famous CFTO, CTV, who has her star on the Walk of Fame, the one and only Christine Bentley. Raheem and Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Oh, yes, indeed. Thank you, Andrea. Well, we turn our attention to the forecast now, and there are not one but two weather alerts in effect. And yes, this is a live shot of our city skyline. We're only seeing the bottom third this hour because, boy, there's lots of fog. That's one of the alerts. And there's some more wet weather on the way. Lindsay Morrison is keeping track of all of it for us on this Wednesday. Lindsay.
Yeah, Michelle, I was going to say, take a guess as to what one of those advisories is for. You know, it's been a very foggy start to the day today. We had thunderstorms overnight again last night. I'll step aside so you can see where the active weather is right now. More in the way of showers creeping closer to the west end of the GTA. And we're going to watch for severe thunderstorms potentially in southwestern Ontario early this afternoon. Here's a look at the fog advisories that are in place. There's also an additional rainfall special weather statement, and that's because we are expecting another 20 millimeters of rain today and tonight. It's 21 degrees right now in Windsor. We are noticeably cooler today here in the GTA. Plus 10. Winds are pretty calm, and that's one of the reasons why we have some fog out there. Forecasting a high of 15 degrees today. That's a little cooler than we've been, but tomorrow we'll be back up around 20. Lots to talk about when it comes to your weather forecast, but for now, Raheem, I'm going to send it over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. U.S. President Donald Trump says he thinks the war with Iran is close to over.
Well, you keep saying was. Is this war over?
I think it's close to over, yeah. I mean, I view it as very close to over. You know what? If I pulled up stakes right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild that country.
Trump made the comment in an interview with Fox Business that aired this morning. Yesterday, he suggested that talks with Iranian officials in Pakistan could resume in the next couple of days. Tehran says it has no information about new talks. Meanwhile, the U.S. military says its blockade of Iranian ports is now fully in place. Rockets were fired between Israel and Hezbollah in southern Lebanon today. It comes a day after Israeli and Lebanese officials held direct talks in Washington for the first time in more than 30 years. Hezbollah is not involved in the negotiations, and Israel says it will continue operations against the militant group. Canada is among a group of nations which have issued a joint statement calling for an end to hostilities in Lebanon. The statement says the nations remain deeply concerned by the worsening humanitarian situation and displacement crisis in Lebanon.
I am continuously in touch with the government of Lebanon. I spoke with the foreign minister of Lebanon yesterday, in fact, to express Canada's solidarity with Lebanon, including their territorial integrity. I understand that the peace talks between Lebanon and Israel began yesterday in Washington, D.C., where their representatives were directly discussing the potential for a ceasefire. We very much hope that there will be a ceasefire, and in the meantime, we'll continue to examine Canada's approach to this situation.
The minister has strongly condemned Israeli airstrikes across Lebanon and Hezbollah's indiscriminate attacks against Israel. She is calling on both sides to implement and adhere to a permanent ceasefire.
The International Monetary Fund is warning that a further escalation in the war in the Middle East could trigger a global recession.
Our severe scenario assumes that energy supply disruptions extend into next year with greater macro instability. Global growth falls to 2% this year and next, while inflation exceeds 6%. Downside risks are clearly very elevated.
The IMF cut its growth outlook because of the war driving up energy prices and causing supply disruptions. It warns the global economy could face recession if the conflict gets worse and oil stays above $100 a barrel through 2027. CTV's Scott Hurst has been following the conflict. He joins us live now with the latest. What more can you tell us about what we're hearing from the IMF?
Michelle, good afternoon. The global economy is threatened with being thrown off course. That's the blunt message from the International Monetary Fund. As we've seen with the war now in its 7th week has left thousands dead, jolted markets and rattled the global economy. Shipping has been cut off through the Middle East and energy infrastructure has been severely damaged. That has sent prices soaring, and that is how all of us are feeling the impact, with the downside risks dominating the outlook. But the outlook says it has abruptly darkened following the outbreak of the war that began in late February, with the IMF, as you mentioned, presenting 3 growth scenarios. And under the worst case outlook, it would mean a close call for a global recession. That assumes that the energy supply disruptions not only continue through 2026, but also into 2027, and oil prices remain above, at the very least, the $100 per barrel mark. Here's more from one Canadian economist on how we're already feeling the impact and how much more we could continue to feel.
We are going to see higher inflation. We've already been experiencing it at the pumps. We know it's coming for the grocery stores. It's really going to come in almost every product category that Canadians buy. And we're also likely to see impacts on the employment side because of cutbacks to investments by businesses.
And Michelle, to put into perspective how much things have changed, at the very least economically, the IMF says prior to the war, it was poised to upgrade its global growth forecast, Michelle.
Now, the U.S., Raheem touched on this earlier, says its blockade of Iranian ports is fully in place. How else is America trying to pressure Iran?
So on one hand, as we're seeing this U.S. blockade of Iranian ports fully in place, and the U.S. military saying it has halted Iran's economic sea trade, Tehran is once again threatening to have more retaliatory strikes throughout the region. And all of this is happening as it appears the two sides may be close to a second round of talks. Of course, we know the first round of talks last weekend in Pakistan failed, with the White House stating Iran's nuclear ambitions were one of the central sticking points. And so a lot of attention is being focused on the second round of talks, particularly as the temporary 2-week truce is now about 1 week from running out. So at the very least, can the two sides come together and extend that temporary ceasefire while they continue their discussions, or can the two sides come to a much longer-term agreement, Michelle?
CTV's Scott Hurst live in the National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
A Toronto post-secondary institution has announced another round of layoffs due to a decline in enrollment.
It's the latest example of how a cash flow crisis at Canada's post-secondary schools linked to the federal cap on international students. CTV's Adrian Gobriel reports.
A painful reality check for one of the largest colleges in the country.
As a student, it's very concerning.
Toronto's George Brown Polytechnic has issued layoff notices for 82 employees following 51 terminations just last month.
If we keep cutting international students, then everything might go down.
In an email, the college says, like many post-secondary institutions, we continue to face financial pressures, largely driven by changes to international student policies introduced by Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada. The cash flow crisis is being felt at colleges as well as universities across the country.
Canada's falling behind in the global competition for the people that we really need to drive our economy.
As the federal government reduces the number of non-permanent residents, new Canadian student visas for post-secondary studies dropped off 64% last year. In 2023, there were more than 430,000 new post-secondary study permits approved in Canada. That dropped to 209,000 in 2024, and again in 2025 to just over 75,000, marking the lowest total in the last decade. As concerns mount that this could lead to Canadian educated staffing shortages for vital economic sectors, the CEO of Universities Canada believes a national talent strategy is essential to entice the world's best and brightest young minds to come to school here in Canada.
Imagine a company that didn't have an HR plan. Well, as a country, that's what we are. And the only way you can build that right now in Canada is if you get provincial governments and federal governments around the same table.
Here in Ontario, OPSEU says that roughly 10,000 post-secondary education jobs were either impacted or eliminated at 24 colleges across the province this past year. Adrian Gobro, CTV News, Toronto.
The federal Liberal caucus met in Ottawa this morning, introducing the party's newest members following Monday's by-election sweep. Let's bring in CTV's Rachel Aiello, who's live in Ottawa for us this afternoon. So, Rachel, the Prime Minister, he arrived on Parliament Hill today for his first caucus meeting since clinching a majority. I'm interested in what the mood is like in Ottawa today. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, good afternoon, Raheem. So it was definitely a very celebratory atmosphere in the Liberal caucus room today. This is the first time all of those Liberal MPs got together since clinching that majority government on Monday. We saw Prime Minister Mark Carney walk in with his 3 new MPs, Daniel Martin, Doli Begum, and Tatiana Auguste, being welcomed in with open arms, cheers, and celebration. Obviously, those by-elections secured the majority for Prime Minister Mark Carney, but was helped along, of course, by some floor crossers, and you did see quite prominently in the background there Marilyn Gladue, the latest Conservative floor crosser to join the Liberals, welcoming in her new team. The Prime Minister making it clear that he now has a stronger roster in order to deliver on the promises he's made to Canadians, and saying that he's going to remain focused on getting to work. But really, Raheem, what I'm going to be watching for this afternoon is that first face-off and question period between Mark Carney and Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre since the majority dynamics set in place in Parliament. We'll see if the Prime Minister keeps up that collegial, humble tone, or if he's looking to potentially get a bit spicy and spike that football.
Yeah, we definitely know sometimes those question periods can get heated when the two leaders are there. What impact is the by-election result going to have on opposition parties moving forward?
Yeah, so certainly I think the results led to a more muted tone at the Conservative caucus meeting this morning. Obviously, Conservatives have made it clear that these were 3 by-elections that were never really the Conservatives to win. But there are some former Conservatives saying the percentage of the vote share in which the Conservatives went down in all 3 of these ridings would indicate that should an election be called tomorrow, there would potentially be Ontario MPs specifically in the Conservative Party that would be at risk of losing their seats. So there is pressure on Poilievre to indicate that he is still the man for the job. Obviously, we heard from Conservative MPs this morning making it clear that they still think that is the case. But there is going to be heightened scrutiny on Poilievre going forward. This majority standing does give him more time to turn things around, but also more time for his caucus to consider if it is him they want leading into the next election.
Yeah, good point. CTV's Rachel Aiello live in Ottawa for us. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.
Federal Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne says the government will table a spring economic update on April 28th.
This is going to be a plan that is going to help families, it's going to help our industry, it's going to help our nation, Mr. Speaker, to prosper and to obviously bring good news to Canadians across the nation.
The update is meant to give Canadians a better understanding of how Ottawa's fiscal position has changed since the 2025 federal budget, which was tabled in November. At that time, the government was predicting that the federal deficit would rise to more than $78 billion in the last fiscal year, with smaller deficits forecast through to 2030.
For the second time this week, Donald Trump has criticized the Pope on social media. The U.S. president posted this on Truth Social late last night, saying, "Will someone please tell Pope Leo that Iran has killed at least 42,000 innocent, completely unarmed protesters in the last 2 months, and that for Iran to have a nuclear bomb is absolutely unacceptable." The pontiff arrived in Cameroon today on the second leg of his African visit. He did not specifically address Trump's latest comments, but said the world needs to hear a message of peace and coexistence. Pope Leo has been an outspoken critic of the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran and insists he plans to keep criticizing it regardless of what Trump says.
The Duke of Sussex is continuing his visit to Australia, and today Prince Harry spoke to veterans in Canberra.
To the veterans and families in the room today, this afternoon and this event is for you.
The Prince placed a wreath at a war memorial honoring the military service of Indigenous personnel. Harry and his wife Meghan arrived in Melbourne yesterday for their first Australian visit since an official royal tour in 2018. The 4-day visit comes after the couple announced in 2020 they plan to step back as senior royals.
Meanwhile, Buckingham Palace has released more details about the King's trip to the United States. The monarch will address a joint meeting of Congress and meet privately with U.S. President Donald Trump. The King and Queen Camilla will make a number of appearances in Washington, New York, and Virginia from April 27th to the 30th. The focus will be the 250th anniversary of American independence. The state visit happens at a time when Trump has repeatedly criticized the U.K. Prime Minister for not offering enough support for the war with Iran. Lindsay.
Well, there are a couple of different factors that are going to keep our temperature a little cooler today compared to the last several days, but still on the warm side of seasonal. Here's a look at today's highs. About 15 degrees is what we're expecting in Toronto. That's above the seasonal average of 12. Here's the thing, though. We are going to warm up a little bit the next couple of days and then cool right down over the weekend. We're talking highs near 6 degrees on Sunday and some overnight lows below freezing. That's not all. We've got more rain on the way and, yeah, likely some thunderstorms, too. Might be severe in nature this afternoon across southwestern Ontario. Stay with us. We've got a full look at your weather forecast after the break here on CTV News at Noon.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Hey, it's midweek and visibility is an issue. You can't see much of the skyline wherever you're heading, especially if you're driving. The fog can be a bit treacherous.
It's a big difference from what we saw yesterday, right? The sun was out yesterday.
Yes.
It was a beautiful evening as well, right? The sun staying up later, but a little bit of a change today.
Well, here's the thing. So we had another round of thunderstorms through the night. I suspected we were going to have a dry period through the day, but this fog now, as opposed to a bit of sun, which was looking like a possibility yesterday, that's going to inhibit our warm-up in addition to causing some visibility issues out on the roads. Near zero visibility being reported right now in some areas. And yes, guess what? We've got more thunderstorms in store for later today. Lots to discuss. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Yes, we've had beautiful weather at times this week, but I want to bring you to Bracebridge, Ontario right now. And really all of Muskoka is on high alert right now because in addition to rounds of heavy rain this week, there's also been plenty of snow melt. And as a result, the spring flood season is now well underway. So this is what Germania Road looked like yesterday, but this is going to be an ongoing story for the next little while here. And additional rainfall not helping matters. Let's talk first about the fog. We saw our skyline vanishing. We are under a special weather statement here in most parts of the GTA. I do expect some of this fog is going to dissipate as we make our way through the afternoon, but just be mindful if you do have to venture out on the roads early this afternoon. Couple of showers making their way into the Hamilton, Niagara areas right now. We're also going to watch for some heavy rainfall as we make our way through the rest of the day today. Perhaps an additional 20 millimeters. That's what this special weather statement is warning of. And we're keeping an eye on southwestern Ontario for potentially severe thunderstorms. There was actually the first tornado warning of the season issued late and overnight last night with some very stormy weather in southwest Ontario. So could be a possibility again today. This is a bit of a snapshot of how much rain could fall as we make our way through the next 24 to 48 hours here. It is significant. And again, if we do get thunderstorms, that certainly does up the rainfall amounts. I've paused this around 5 p.m. to show you that we are back into the wet weather and thunderstorm activity likely. Again, Hamilton over toward Niagara around the escarpment there. And then overnight and into tomorrow morning, another round of showers, another round of storms potentially. Your Thursday is unsettled, mostly cloudy with the possibility of thunderstorms. But look what happens on Friday. We're going to have a pretty nice day. We will enjoy some sunshine. Here's the next weather maker for Saturday. So enjoy the break on Friday from the rain because we're not entirely done with it yet. 10 degrees right now. What a difference compared to the last couple of days at this time of day where we've been around 20 degrees. Seasonal norm is 12. We're going to be a little closer to that today. And overnight tonight, staying quite warm at 13 degrees. So that's going to help fuel the possibility of more rumbles of thunder and flashes of lightning. School day forecast for tomorrow. It's another unsettled one, perhaps indoor recess for so many kids. 7-day forecast shows that we should be back up around 20 degrees tomorrow at least. And again, Friday looks great. Saturday, our cool down begins with showers arriving once more. Look at Sunday and Monday, highs of only 6 degrees, overnight lows below freezing. It's possible Sunday, too, that we could get a little bit of mixed precipitation with that temperature falling also. That's the weather for now. Raheem, I'll send it over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Well, the Maple Leafs will wrap up their disappointing regular season tonight, facing off against the Senators in Ottawa.
Upstairs, Stetcher, shot, just missed the net, rebound, scored! Nick Robertson answers his brother and doubles the Toronto lead.
The team is coming off a 6-5 loss to the Dallas Stars in their final home game of the season. The Leafs will miss the playoffs this year for the first time since the 2016-2017 NHL season. Puck drop for tonight's game against the Senators is set for just after 7:30 in Ottawa.
The Toronto Raptors can move into the final playoff spot with a regulation win tonight.
Oh, a dangerous play! Brianne Jenner scores!
Toronto trails the fourth-place Ottawa Charge by 2 points and could move a point ahead of them with a win in New York tonight. The Raptors have 3 games left after tonight, including one against Ottawa.
Still to come, while the Blue Jays are on the road looking for back-to-back wins, hundreds of people are still filling up the Rogers Centre today. We'll tell you why after the break.
The Blue Jays are looking for a second straight win tonight after they came from behind to beat the Milwaukee Brewers last night.
Guerrero lines it deep left field, and it's off the base of the wall.
What a great game. After giving up the lead in the bottom of the ninth, the Jays scored 3 times in the top of the 10th inning. They ended up winning the game 9-7. First pitch for tonight's game in Milwaukee is set for 7:40 p.m. Meanwhile, hundreds of students are hitting the field at Rogers Centre as part of the Jays Care Affiliate School All-Star Series.
The initiative gives them the opportunity to take part in a variety of activities at the ballpark. CTV's Allison Hurst joins us live now from the Rogers Centre. Allison, you bring your glove with you?
Absolutely. There's lots of excitement here, Raheem. They're just announcing the latest school coming in. All the kids running in, really excited to be able to be down here on the field for all of these activities. They've got lots of activities around the outfield here, though the kids can all take part in. This is Jays Care All-Star Series. Is happening over 3 days this week, where they'll have 600 kids from 20 schools coming to participate each day across the GTHA. The students are going from station to station, trying out different drills that teach batting, fielding, throwing, and agility. Staff with Jays Care say they send equipment packages to the schools that are members so they can participate in the programming at school, but these activities today are ones the kids likely have not seen.
We try to empower children and youth that may not have the opportunity to participate in sport and baseball, and to feel like they're a part of a community and to feel like they are building skills like resiliency and confidence and belonging. That's really the core of our programs.
It's been good. I got a baseball from Ace, and we got a tour from where the bullpen is and inside, so we got to walk there because my brother, he's in a wheelchair, so we took the elevator down.
It's been fun. I enjoyed the games. And my favorite game was the bowling one.
Wow. It was a really amazing opportunity to come and appreciate the foundation. I would really appreciate them inviting us here because it's been a really amazing experience.
Well, we've got lots of kids here today. This is the second group that has been here. We had one earlier this morning. They took off around 11:30, and this group's now just arriving. They'll be going from station to station. You can see them all here behind me. There's still a number of schools set to come for the rest of the afternoon. It goes until about 2 o'clock, and then they have one more day of these activities for all of the kids here this week. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. I'll send it back to you in studio.
Thanks, Allison. Well, from the diamond to the hard court, the Raptors are hitting the practice court today as they prepare for their first playoff series in 4 years.
The team is set to square off with the Cleveland Cavaliers with their first game of the postseason set for Saturday. CP24's Beatrice Vaisman joins us live now with more on all the preps. Beatrice.
Michelle, Raheem, good afternoon. Listen, it's nice to be back here in the OVO Center reporting on the Raptors reaching the playoffs ever since that last playoff run, a short one that was, back in 2022. A tip-off this Saturday, 1 p.m. The Raps are on the practice court right here at the OVO Center. And we'll be hearing from Coach Darko Rakovic, along with 3 players as well, about how they're preparing for the Cavs. Keep in mind the two teams have faced off multiple times this season, 3 times, in fact. The Raptors taking all 3 of those games. But, and there is a big but, the Cavs have changed since the last time the Raps have seen them. They've added James Harden, and so it was a big acquisition for Cleveland, and certainly he's expected to be a big factor in the playoffs. Also, something that's different between the Raps and the Cavs is the E-word, experience. The Cavs have a lot more experience in the postseason. They're an excellent team, though, as you know, I'm hearing from some of the experts, this was a better matchup for the Raptors than the alternatives. And so the Raps were quite happy to get Cleveland as their opponent. Scotty Barnes is going to be leading the charge, of course. This is his first time back in the playoffs since his rookie season. And keep in mind, he's the only Raptor from the previous roster in 2022 to still be playing for the team. The last time there was also LeBron James on the Cavs. There was DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry once upon a time on the Raptors when the two teams faced off in the postseason. So it's all about experience. It's all about making the most of it. And that's what the coach really said last time he spoke to reporters just a few short days ago, saying, we're going to take this one game at a time, focus on one win at a time. And this is a chance for these guys to really get some experience under their belt. Also, just a wicked homecoming as well from RJ Barrett, Mississauga's very own. He's talked about the excitement of playing for his hometown team in the postseason. He knows what it's like to be in Jurassic Park. He's been in Jurassic Park before, and now he's going to be on the court performing for a hometown crowd here at Scotiabank Arena as the Raps make their big postseason return. Here's more from TSN's Raptors reporter, Josh Lewinberg.
This is going to be a good experience no matter what. It's the only way to get experience, right? You've got to go through it. So one way or the other, for a young Raptors team that is trying to take the next step, this is an important step. But again, yeah, like it's going to be interesting to see how much they can pick up as the series goes. It can be done. It kind of reminds me of the Raptors playoff series against the Brooklyn Nets in 2014, where you had Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett on that team, a very young Raptors team. They were the underdog, but they pushed Brooklyn to 7 games. So it can be done.
The Raps have had a pretty spectacular season, all things considered. They've won 46 games in the regular season. That's 16 more than the last season. So the coach, the players, they have a lot to be proud of. We'll be hearing from them a little bit later on this afternoon about what they're doing to get ready to take on Cleveland again. First game, Saturday, 1 p.m. Back to you guys.
We are ready to watch them. Thank you, Beatrice. Still to come on CTV News at noon, new research suggesting Canada's aging population is starting to downsize, but there is limited supply of smaller homes. We'll have those details when we return.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
U.S. stocks are flirting with a record high today, despite the uncertainty around the conflict in the Middle East. The S&P 500 ticking towards the record high of 7,002 that it saw back in January. Analysts have linked a big market rally over the last 2 weeks to growing optimism that the global economy could avoid a worst-case scenario linked to the U.S.-Iran war. The Nasdaq is also up today, although the Dow is down slightly. The TSX is also not far off a 6-week high. Meanwhile, Canadians are looking forward to the cost of gas dropping on Monday when the federal government's new fuel tax holiday takes effect.
However, some people remain skeptical that the change will save them money in the long run. CTV's Alex Karpa explains.
Yeah, so a primary tillage tractor like this holds about 1,000 liters of fuel.
Farmer Kevin Peters spends about $1,500 to fill this tractor, and during busy season, that fuel can be gone in just 24 hours.
Takes a lot of fuel to run big equipment.
Peters says the costs are adding up quickly.
The fuel increase this year could easily add $50,000 for sure to our bottom line.
The Prime Minister's cost-cutting move to excise tax on gas and diesel starts next week. Diesel prices could drop by about 4 cents per litre, but Peters says it won't directly impact his operation.
As farmers, we are already exempt from that tax on our own marked diesel on farm, so our equipment has that exemption.
The trucking industry says while the savings are welcome, the overall impact will be limited.
Everybody helps right now. It's challenging as prices increase. So does it have a large impact? No, but over time, it's going to save everybody a little bit of money.
Economists believe the tax break could slightly lower the cost of transported goods, including food, but it comes with trade-offs.
There will be a large cost to be paid. Both in terms of lost tax revenue as well as environmental damage because people will drive more.
Peters says this temporary cut is a good thing for consumers, but wants to see more supports for farmers like himself to help bring the cost of diesel down. Alex Scarborough, CTV News in Randolph, Manitoba.
New research suggests Canada's aging population is starting to downsize, which could mean more opportunities for younger buyers. RE/MAX Canada says data suggests a long-term downsizing wave is coming to the country's housing market. However, survey findings suggest the shift will happen gradually due to limited availability of sustainable homes for people to move into. RE/MAX says 65% of people aged 65 or older are reporting low or no availability of smaller homes in their communities.
Coming up, a record renaissance. We'll have more on a Quebec company at the forefront of collectors' renewed love for vinyl. Vinyl records are in a renaissance, currently making up $1 billion in sales last year.
CTV's Stéphane Giroux has more on a Quebec company who were early adopters and are now reaping the rewards.
At Drummond Vinyl in Drummondville, staff can't keep up with the demand for records.
I call it a digital detox. It creates a moment, which I think that digital world cannot compete against, because when you put a vinyl on, all of a sudden everything is aligned with this. You need to, switch side at some point, and then you just put the needle on, and so it's about a moment.
Musicians Jeff Beaulieu and Alex Henry Foster launched a company 3 years ago out of necessity for their own bands.
For us, it was not about a market and a demand. It was because we realized that we wanted to do our own vinyls and that we needed to wait a whole year to do it, which we couldn't afford because you need to go on the road.
Drummond Vinyl isn't the only one. Pressing plants are opening up all over Canada.
I think it brings all age groups to the record stores. There are people who are 10 years old. There are people that are 80 years old in line. We've seen it all over the last 18 years.
April 18th is Record Store Day, where labels, big and small, push rare limited edition reissues. Canadian classic rock band Honeymoon Suite is reissuing one of its records because there's a new generation curious about vinyl.
I think people just got tired of streaming and listening to compressed MP3 files that don't really sound that great. What can I say? My son is 28 years old, and he's totally into vinyl.
This year's Record Store Day will come with a twist. That's because record stores say there's one artist that everyone is looking for.
Well, at the moment, there's a Quebec band called Engine de Poitrine.
It's clearly the two records from Engine de Poitrine.
Engine de Poitrine is a Quebec avant-garde band that exploded onto the international stage in recent weeks. Drummond Vinyl was tasked with fulfilling the demand.
I've never seen anything like that from my own eyes with that kind of music happening here. So for us to be first part of it was incredible. What a huge privilege to be involved in that incredible success.
For artists and fans, it's the kind of excitement they haven't seen since the days everyone assumed that vinyl was dead. Stéphane Giroux, CTV News.
Michelle, you were putting us on to that French group. You said they're very good.
I've heard a bit of their songs. It's so different. Kind of cool.
Got to listen to that in the lunch hour.
I feel like if weather were attuned today, it would be a little bit somber.
Yeah, perhaps. That's it. Well, either way, no matter what song we're singing, it's a good maybe afternoon to spend some time indoors, maybe play those tunes and listen to some rain outside your window. It's not happening necessarily right now in the GTA, but we are seeing a few showers inch closer to Hamilton. I'm not seeing any signs of severe thunderstorms just yet in southwestern Ontario, but that risk is there today as well. Through the night tonight, we are looking at evening showers and storms overnight and into tomorrow morning, more in the way of active weather. Tomorrow's high should be a little warmer than today's at about 20 degrees. And then we're also going to be around 20 degrees on Friday, but at least we will enjoy some sun that day. I want to talk a little more about the weekend. So Saturday, we start off dry. We get some wet weather moving in midday. The temperature falls through the weekend. And by Sunday and Monday, we are suddenly below seasonal with some chilly overnight lows. Chance of mixed precip on Sunday, might even see some wet flurries, but at least we have sunnier skies in store for the early days of next week. Raheem and Michelle.
All right, that is CTV's new news at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Raheem Ladani. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6.